People need an income that's guaranteed to them.
If you lose money to taxes, you're never getting that money back.
You need to get serious about adding some lower risk.
Greed. I don't like greed.
The thing to be afraid of, honestly, is the thing that we're not thinking of, the black swan event.
There's a tsunami coming. Bye.
Welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers.
Just coffee talk.
There's a lot of noise, a lot of chatter. Who do you listen to? Who do you not listen to? You have to stay focused.
A fun and informative look at the issues of wealth, retirement, and protecting your life savings.
These advisors out there that were trained to sell, and have all these fees. They don't want to talk about this product, so they make less money.
And now, Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers.
Hello again, and welcome to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. My name is Randy Cook. I'm here each week with Charisse as we talk through some of the issues of retirement. Maybe there are things that you're wondering about and worried about, and you see your friends retire, and you wonder how this whole thing's going to go with you, and then you say, okay, who's going to help me with this? That's why we have this show. Charisse, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Went to a concert with my daughter and some friends in Gainesville. We went to the Morgan Wallen concert. So the only other concert I've ever been to is with you, Randy, when we went to George Strait in Jacksonville, if I recall.
That's right.
It was you. You are one of our radio buddies.
Well, yeah, I saw it on Facebook because you've got a lot going on Facebook right now. So it's an interesting life that you lead, Charisse.
Well, I was golfing with Tim over the weekend.
That would be Tim Tebow, by the way. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. And we were in a suite at University of Florida watching the concert, and Tim came and hung out, and we got to just talk about life and about his foundation, and had some friends there, and it was just fun. And Ella just loves her some Tim.
Okay.
And she had a really great conversation with him. She even made a comment about dressing for the glory of God, like our outfits, right? Mm-hmm. It was interesting how Ella brought that up, and so much more. And then Ella got a big happy birthday wish to one of her friends from Tim, so she caught that on camera.
Nice.
So I was like, I told her not to, and she was brave enough to go do it. I went, okay, that's how you get stuff done, girl. Tim's like, oh, I don't care.
Well,
it was fun.
You want to keep up with Charisse, you can look on Facebook. And as a matter of fact, there's links on our website as well to all of that. So check that all out at zinniawealth.com. Okay, so let's dive into it here a little bit, Charisse. We're gonna take a cue from David Letterman today. He made his living doing lists. We're going to do lots of lists in the first half of the show today, okay? So on Sunday morning, there's lots of news programs on. There's lots of financial programs on. Barron's is one that's on, and you may have seen it. They had a financial advisor in there. They were talking specifically in this segment about the fear of running out of money. That's a big one for everybody, right? So this particular advisor, she said, there are three things that I think are the biggest threats to people's retirement. Number one, unanticipated health events. Number two, unanticipated market events. And client splurges that break the budget. Okay. So let's talk a little bit. The first two I know we talk about all the time, so let's leave that aside. Have you had clients that have come in and they just like, Charisse, we need to tell you that we bought a $750,000 RV. We didn't tell you, and now we're here, so fix it.
Not that big of an event.
Okay.
I've had clients go buy a $250,000 RV, or at least put money down if they're doing something that massive.
All right.
But clients always have events that happen. I will say I did have one in the last 20 years, one client that was really for a good 4 years, just overspending based on our plan and the outlay we put together for him. And I kept saying, hey, if you guys keep doing that, I am going to worry what happens here in the next 5 to 7 years. And then when that money started to really run out, there was another bucket of money for the second phase of life that they had to start digging into. And then they wanted to move up north and buy a house and then cash out over half of that. And I just said, if we do this, you're really going to have a hard time. To say the least, we had to let go of the client because I can't work with somebody who's going to overspend and oversplurge. There's going to be moments that we're going to do it, and that's fine for most people. But when you are over splurging on those moments, you have to dial in and do the math. Does it hurt your retirement for the future if you plan to live 20 or 30 more years? Or if the plan was to leave a legacy and now you're just like, okay, we don't want to leave a legacy. We really want to spend our last dollar on the last press. Well, maybe this is how we do it, right? So I think you just have to plan for it. You got to get it on paper, and you just have to understand what you're walking into. So the expectations obviously are going to change. But that's like an anomaly case for us. But, a splurge is, hey, I need 50 to 100 grand because I'm putting a down payment on a property. Like that wasn't planned out. But usually we give a thumbs up for something like that. But we do test the math and make sure we stress test it against their wishes for the next 30 years just to make sure that it doesn't affect them.
Well, this brings up one of those things we talk about, your bucket of retirement money. There's a hole in your bucket. There's a couple of holes in your bucket. One is a tax hole. Another one is a hole for fees. Another one is a hole for healthcare. And then there's a hole for you too. And you're spending money too out of that bucket too. How big is that hole? Do we have to plug that hole? No, probably not. That's really not the thing. But this gets me into an area that just kind of chaps me a little bit here, Charisse, when it comes to retirement talk. And that is, I know you like Susie Orman and everything like that, but I'm so tired of a woman who's probably worth $50 million shaking her finger at me saying I can't have a Starbucks or I can't go out to dinner because that's the biggest hurt of my retirement. This whole thing where they start everything with don't do this, don't do that, you got to do this, you got to do that.
Yeah.
I was in the car with my wife the other day and we got into a retirement show and she looked at me and she goes, you know what? I've spent 40 years of people telling me what to do. I don't want people telling me what to do in retirement. I want to be the boss. I want to be the person who spends my money and this is my destiny and this is what I want to do. And I thought that was pretty profound because that's the image that she's getting, and what she's getting from the financial industry is don't. And I don't think that's what she wants to hear.
No, I think clients are used to hearing, or people who've never come into our office are used to hearing, well, you can't spend because you might run out of money. You can't spend because you probably need it for long-term care. What they're not used to hearing is, hey, we can actually spend $20,000 to $40,000 more a year for the next 10 years and then still have long-term care protected and still potentially leave a legacy, depending on the math, of course. And so I think we've just always heard for years. I mean, think about the baby boomers. Their entire lives, they heard from Dave Ramsey, save, which is great. We want to save. We need those leaders in our life. And then Susie Orman, no. Susie Orman really came in at a great time because people were really good listeners. Could you imagine Susie Orman saying right now, you're denied, or no, you can't go on your trip, or no, you can't have your coffee? They'd be like, screw you, Susie, right? Because
new advisor.
Well, and the time has changed. So you can't talk about what you talked about 20 years ago today because the kids are different and how they save is different. And we are having less people save on top of that, which is a dilemma. So I do think that over time, you have to adjust. When you finally deserve, if you are a good listener and a good steward to what Dave Ramsey said and Susie Orman and Clark Howard, there's a time to spend. You can't say no forever. And we implore people to do the work with an advisory team that will coach you up and say, hey, this is how much you can spend and here is why, based on the different elements we're plugging into your portfolio. Like that is, to me, like Christmas all day long. If I was retired and I walked into the office and they said, hey, this is what you could do, let's stress test it. Okay, if we could do a little bit more, this hurts us in this department, but if we did less, we gain here in this department, whether it's legacy department, the long-term department, or paying Uncle Sam now, so there's tax-free later. There's different departments in financial planning, and having an advisor that actually understands the compartments in these departments is really, really important to help guide you to make those better decisions. Because you could very well could come in and I'd be like, hey, you need all the money you can get. We can't even afford to roll IRAs over to a Roth, or you have health issues right now and there's a lot of money being poured out. So that means we might have to take away from here, right? And people are always willing to transition because whatever is happening in their lives, that's usually what they push towards. But just having a shoulder to cry on, a shoulder to talk to, and get realigned, because you're always in retirement, you're always unaligned, then you get aligned. And so you're always realigning. So there has to be a plan that makes sense with it, right? That you can always track.
I think every week on this show, I use these 3 words: confidence to spend. You want to go into your retirement and realize I can do these things and it's not going to hurt me. I'm not going to run out of money. And because I have an income plan, I have a strategy for my retirement, and it's built for not just 5 years or 10 years. It's built for 15, 20, 30 years. That's what we want to do for you at Zinnia Wealth. Give Charisse and the team a call. Let's sit down and do your retirement math. If you've never sat down before and say, what's coming in, what's going out, this is what I've saved, this is what I want to do, let's put the whole thing together. That's what it is to do your retirement math. We'll do it for you at no cost or obligation. Go to the website. You can start there, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. And there's a button there. It says complimentary retirement consultation. Click on that. You'll be on your way. Or just bypass all that. Give them a call. 833-368-3680. All right, here's our second list in our first half hour here. All right, if you hire a financial advisor, you probably think, well, I'm going to hire this person and they're going to show me exotic investments that nobody else knows about, and it's going to make me a rich person. Okay, yeah, I get that. All right, but there are a lot of people that think that you don't have to do that. Boring is better. The people at Vanguard, they follow Jack Bogle. They call themselves Bogleheads, and they came out with an article that says all you need is these 3 things. 3 things only: a U.S. stock market index fund, an international stock market index fund, and a U.S. bond indexed fund. That's not very exotic, and that's kind of boring, actually. But do you think somebody could run their retirement with just 3 funds like that? How many do you have to have?
Well, I think you need more than 3 funds.
Okay.
I truly believe that.
All right.
Because if you have the U.S. stock market fund, that might be more like the S&P 500, right?
Follows the index, right? Yeah.
Follows the index, right? And everything goes up. Well, that's great. If you have a half your money in there and the market goes up 30%, then yeah, you're probably going to get your 30%. But then if the stock market goes down 30%, you're also going to lose 30%. So is it better to make the 30% and also potentially lose the 30%, possibly 40%? Or is it better to make maybe 15% and mitigate the downside risk to 5% or 7%? And it's all perspective, Randy. It just depends on the age and season of life you're in, what you've experienced, what you want your money to do, and what you don't want to see your money do, right? And so, for example, we have some clients that come in and say, Charisse, I don't want to lose a dime. Well, you're not going in that portfolio. We have some people, and I just sat with one of them, he says, I can handle all that risk. Give me more, right? And so everybody's going to be a little bit different, and we have to be able to cater to both. So even in that S&P 500 fund, you can invest in 3 strategies, for example, in the S&P 500 fund. One that takes no losses, one that takes 100% losses, and one that takes half the losses, which is really incredible. Most people are like, what is she talking about? Well, that is exactly what we do in our office to split up the diversity inside that risk bucket at the same time, depending on the season of life you're in. And most clients want all 3 of those buckets. Same thing with the international fund and the bond fund. Like, I don't believe in just a bond fund. When you say, hey, I'm going to get this bond fund, for example, let's call it the aggregate bond fund at Vanguard, all corporate bonds, and interest rates start shifting gears, well, guess what? Vanguard ain't moving those bonds fast enough to protect you, so those bonds are losing money, right? What if you had an active bond fund that has bond funds among bond funds inside of them, so they're not overlapping and doing the same thing, and they can manage the interest rate environment, because when interest rates go up, bond values go down, and vice versa. It's a teeter-totter. When interest rates go down, bond values go up. So there should be a triggering mechanism inside your portfolio that says, oh, I have this aggregate bond fund, maybe all corporate bonds. Hey, interest rates are going up. Uh-oh, my bond's about to go down. And so most humans aren't going to make a change, but an algorithm will if you have it built in, and or you have a human element that does active trading inside of a portfolio. So we just want to be not creative. We're not reinventing the wheel, but we want, you know what people want, Randy? They just want to know somebody's thinking through this stuff as this stuff is changing, because they're They want to be in Tahiti drinking their Mai Tais.
There
They
you
want to go
go.
on the cruise ships with their spouses. They want to go camping with their grandkids. They don't want to worry about this. This is my job. This is my time to shine and impress the people that are trusting us most. And it's their time to not give a care and make sure they don't run out of money and all their accounts just lose 50%. And now they're just like, okay, well, we got to cancel that trip and this trip and that trip, right? And that's what people want. So I don't like getting all complex on radio about the different portfolios. But no, you shouldn't just have a U.S. fund. You shouldn't just have an international fund. And no, you shouldn't just have a bond fund. I call this the dumb fund. That's the dumb plan. And so I know some people are like, oh, that's a little rude. Yes, it is rude because I've seen it just not work. I've also seen it work. But does it work when you start living on your retirement dollars? And the answer is, if the market's going down, no. If interest rates are going up, no. If anything could be happening, right? And there's a lot of noise out there today. So, we're not trying to seek a 50% return, right? I just had a review with a client. We made 47% one of his accounts. His other account did 25. The other account did 15. The other one did 8. And I said, are you so okay with this strategy? He went, absolutely. Because when the market crashes, he's like, that 8% account ain't going to go down 50%. He's like, I have peace of mind knowing that, Charisse. And so it's bobbing and weaving. And not all of our money has to be making those double-digit returns because it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
I love what you said there about the 3 things you should be worried about are maybe Hawaii, Alaska, and Cancun, not index funds and bond funds and international funds. Let's get our priorities straight. That is why you would bring all of this to Charisse and let her worry about that part. You worry about having fun and having a great time in your retirement. Give Charisse a call. Let's sit down and do the math on your retirement. It's a no-cost, no-obligation look at what you've done, what you want to do, put it all together. Are there any gaps? Do we have to fill any of those gaps? Are you worried about Social Security cutting back? Are you worried about health care? Let's get all those worries out on the table. Here's the number, 833-368-3680, 833-368-3680, or ZinniaWealth.com, ZINNIA Wealth.com. Hit that gold box that says complimentary retirement consultation. All right, the rule of thirds. This is a new one on me, Charisse. This is how we should parcel up our money. 1/3 in guaranteed income. That's your Social Security, pensions, and annuities, things like that. 1/3 in fixed income investments. That would be bonds, CDs, and treasuries. And 1/3 in equities. That's stock market, ETFs, and mutual funds. So just parceling things up. Is there a percentage that you would have in each of these buckets, or is this crazy, Charisse? Is this just another clickbait? Is this good stuff? What are we saying here?
Is it clickbait? I mean, yeah, it's actually really good clickbait.
Because I clicked on it, yeah.
You clicked on it. So you can follow the rule of a third. I think you can get yourself in a little trouble there. What I do like about the third rule is the first rule in the 1/3 rule. And the first rule is you have your Social Security with your pensions. If you don't have pensions, what you do, you sprinkle into an income annuity that's guaranteed for life so that the 30-year money that you have coming in pays your bills always and forever, even if somebody passes away. So making sure that your fixed expenses are totally covered. I like that third. But some people need more than a third of their assets to cover the fix. So now you're really looking at 50-50 because if you got a smaller Social Security, no pension, then you got to put more money into this annuity to cover that fixed bill environment for the rest of your life. Then you only have 50 left over. So I want to squash the strategy, but I want you to understand the thinking is valid. I don't like having a third of our money. This says a third of our money in fixed instruments like treasuries, bonds, and CDs, because people take that to the next level. And all of a sudden, if you got $1 million, you're like, I'm going to go put 300,000 in CDs. No, we don't want to do that. Or I'm going to put 300,000 in money markets. No, we don't do that. Or 300,000 in treasuries. No, we don't want to do that. But we do want to think through it and maybe sprinkle a few dollars in each one of those investments and really decide how that bond portfolio's outlay is going to look, and then sprinkle in some other strategies. I call them safe money strategies that could be even more icing on the cake. Let's put it that way to your investment portfolio. The other third is the stocks, mutual funds, and equities. Well, number one, we do not like mutual funds, and you shouldn't either. But until you sit with me in my office, you won't know why. But we do like stocks and dividend stocks, and we do like exchange traded funds. But I think the first question we got to ask is, do you really put a third of your money into the stock market? And you're 65 years old or between 65 and 75 years old. That's the part you really got to think through. Like, do you really want to risk a third of your money? Mm-hmm. How much of that third do you need? And is it really half of your money you're risking, right? So that's a question you have to ask yourself. So remember, we used to talk about the 20, 30, 20, the 40, 30, 20, 10 strategy. Mm-hmm. To me, that would be, we should call it the 1/4 strategy, right? Maybe 40% of your money definitely buttoned up safe, 20% at risk, 30% somewhere in the middle, and the other 10% is part of your income and liquidity phase that you need for the next couple of years. So it needs to be more strategic than that. But if you're going alone and you understand what this means, and yeah, it's not a bad rule to follow. But if you're trying to dial in, leave more of a legacy, make sure there's a long-term care plan built in, make sure that, there's assets there for when you pass away for the surviving spouse. You probably need to delve in just a little bit more, build that income plan to make sure that does make sense, because I have not met too many of my clients where actually that would make sense. I would say a few probably certainly will. But I think what the moral of the story is, the guaranteed income is like, it's absolute certainty. It's going to be there. The other third is the fixed income, the safer stuff. Hey, this is our money that we're going to be living on most likely for the next 5 to 7 years. And then the third portion of our money is like, okay, how much can we lose and emotionally handle to lose over the next 10 years if we don't need to touch it? So I'm okay with a third of your money in the stock market if you promise that when it goes down and crashes and burns, could be next year, it could be 3 years, it could be 10 years from now, wherever it is, that you're mitts off, you're not going to sell it at the bottom. Therefore, you're also not going to need it when it hits the bottom because you have your other buckets full. So you really got to think through it. So.
Well, we talk about the three aspects of retirement planning, and every retirement plan has to have preservation, income, and growth. Now that spells pig, so it's not a great marketing campaign, but
does it? Oh, I like it. How can we turn that?
The pig problem, yeah. But actually, these three kind of go along with that. The guaranteed income is your preservation, your income, and then the third in equities is your growth. Mm-hmm. So there is some truth here, and there you can start maybe use that, as we say many times, as a guideline, as a starting point, and say how much of my income do I need here to make up what I need. And that's a conversation for you and Sharice. And when we talk about doing the math on your retirement, this is exactly what we're talking about right here. How much do you need per month for essentials? How much do you need for fun? Let's figure that out. And that is what it is to sit down with Sharice. Give us a call. Give the team a call. Let's get a date on the calendar and go through it. What have you done? What have you saved? Where is it? How's it doing? And what do you want to do? Let's put this all together, kind of put it into the salad bowl and see what comes out. And many times there is something there that you hadn't thought of. Might be a tax problem. Might be a healthcare thing. Maybe you don't have anything in the wills and the trusts and the legal documents. That's a part of this too. Let's get it all taken care of. 833-368-3680. 833-368-3680 or online, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. There's a gold box that says complimentary retirement consultation. Click on that. You'll be on your way. You just rub elbows with the most interesting people, Sharice. So tell me, all right, so you went golfing with who?
Yeah, so this weekend I was golfing with Tim Tebow and Urban Myers. This is we're going to actually make it an annual event. We have so much fun. It was so much fun last year that they were like, come golf in Ocala. See what Ocala is all about. So we golfed at the Golden Ocala golf course. Okay. And just had a fantastic time, honestly. And Urban was flicking tees at the legs of us as we're hitting balls.
Trying to distract you?
Laughing, distracting. Okay. And he's like, I just got to tell you a story. He's like, just a month ago, I was golfing with Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, Saban, and DeSantis. And he's like, guess what? Donald Trump was throwing candy bars at my legs. So it just felt part of the course. I don't have candy bars. I have teas. And so we're like, and I asked him, like, how was that like golfing with Donald Trump? Was he actually fun? Tell me about it. He's like, oh my gosh, the man was a hoot. We were all in our golf carts, all alone, and he was blasting his music, and he comes over. He's like, what do you think about this awesome music? And he's like, man, it's good. Like he beats his own drum, but he makes it a whole lot of fun. And there was like a serious conversation, and Urban's like, President Trump, should we walk away? As he's talking to DeSantis, he's like, nah, this is this normal conversation.
Oh, good. That's great. Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of good intel, which is a coincidence because we got to sit down with Donald Trump Jr. and Mar-a-Lago literally less than a month ago. So I just thought this was kind of part of the course to talk about some of the Q&As that went through during Mar-a-Lago. Some of the advisors got to ask questions about legacy and taxes and that kind of stuff. And it was really incredible. But I just had to share that story because this one's super fresh. And, who throws candy bars at yours? So guess what? If you ever play with me, I throw a candy bar at your leg. I am going to say, hey, man, that's a Donald Trump showing.
All right. Well, Donald Trump Jr. was at Mar-a-Lago when you were there, and the questions were coming in about retirement, and he had some answers. Take a listen.
Start planning for it. Again, there's so many unknowns that happen in life that you can't plan for. You may want to work forever, and you may think you're going to be able to, and then, something happens, an accident, a health problem, whatever it may be. So you got to plan for that. There's so much you can do with proper planning to avoid taxes and whatever it may be to be able to make sure that, the things that you created oftentimes as a family actually ends up in the hands of that family and not the government. You definitely have to plan for that and stay ahead.
All right. So tell me, what kind of a feel did you have for Donald Trump Jr.? He seems like a pretty astute businessman.
He was fun. Like, I was so surprised. You could tell he let his guard down. He actually enjoyed us. And he was just straight up honest and very kind. When he tells us that, Mar-a-Lago is repainted every year in gold that costs $8 million. That comes out of his legacy, but he didn't mind. He thought it was insane, but like the little things. But he was very strategic in the way we had conversations about legacy and about taxes. And, the one thing he said about his dad is that he's a businessman. And this man knows how to jingle a penny, right? He knows how to save in taxes. He knows everything. He said everything that comes out of his mouth is always on purpose, for purpose. He's like, sometimes we didn't even know why he's doing it or what he's doing, but there's always a reason. And he's just a really good businessman. He's done some hard things and he just kind of knows the game. And I think, what I really liked about that conversation, it's the conversation we have every day, Randy, about taxes. For example, I was just having this conversation while we were playing golf with a bunch of people. And I said, if you could put $200,000 into an investment to save $800,000 later on in taxes, does it make sense? And they're like, yes, Sharice, but how do you do that? And so we're talking about this tax strategy and what you have to do with this leveraging 1 to 5 gift structure. And they're like, that's out there. I'm like, yeah, what do you think Donald uses? What do you think the rich people do to keep their taxes down? And it's all built into the IRS code. I'm like, yes, there's strategies out there. And he's like, well, why don't we hear about it? Because I said, most people are scared. They're scared and they think tax strategies are like the siloed world where like, oh, I don't know, we got to pay our taxes. But when it's built into the system, you should use it. So you're just using a system that's already out there. You just got to be brave enough to do it and actually understand it. So I just liked how he talks about, being smart with your money, plan, be strategic with your taxes. And that's what we do. We're just not rolling IRAs over to a Roth here for our tax strategy. We have a ton of different tax strategies to help preserve taxes when you're selling buildings, when you're selling businesses, when you're rolling your IRA over to a Roth. How do we pay less taxes? There's a strategy built into that. And so I just really liked his thinking. He's also a money man and he gets it just like his dad does, but he's softer on the edges and he was quite fun.
Let's talk a little bit about that because when we talk about taxes and when we get into retirement, many of us are going to come in with a 401k or an IRA. And, when you think about the other vehicle there, which is a Roth, you can only, as a senior, put about $8,600 into a Roth. And you got to do that a lot in order to really make a difference in your retirement. So what do you do? Well, there's something called a backdoor Roth. What's a backdoor backdoor Roth. It sounds very illegal, but it's not. It's completely legal. And this is really a conversion. This is saying I've got all this money in a 401k and I want to bring it over out of the tax wash and paying the taxes a little bit at a time as you do that. Charisse, I know this is a big part of what you do as far as tax savings are concerned. Not only does it help you probably in your 70s and 80s, but it helps your kids as well when you leave the world and leave the money to them as well. How do you figure out the math on a conversion? I know that you've talked about it, how you can just sit down and almost just look at it and say, you're a good candidate, you might not be. Tell me how you make those decisions.
Yeah, so let me clear the air first. There's contributing to a Roth and there's rolling your IRAs and 401ks over to a Roth.
Right.
And if you have W-2 income, it can only be W-2 income, not rental income or anything else. You can contribute up to that dollar amount into a Roth, which is a small amount. It's very limited. And you can even do it for your spouse, even if they're not working, but still it's a small amount. And if your income is too high, then you can't do it. So then you start to work on these backdoor Roths, which will allow you to do it. But at the end of the day, a simple form of getting money into a Roth, and you can do as much as you want. There's no income limitations, is you can just roll your IRAs and your 401ks over to a Roth, right? As long as you had it for 5 years and you're 59 and a half and older, all the interest that's growing inside of it is tax-free finally after that 5 years and you're 59 and a half. So the question is, how much do we figure out how much to roll from your IRAs to a Roth? Because the one thing you have to do when you roll those dollars to a Roth is you have to pay the taxes. And that's what people are like, breaks. I don't want to pay the taxes. This is going to be sky high, ridiculous. I just had a client roll an IRA to Roth and it only cost them $12,000 in taxes to do that. So again, we want to run it through our tax software. We have some of the best tax software in the country. Your CPAs don't have it. We can look at the next 30 years. If we were to do this for the first 5 to 10 years, what does the outcome look like in that Roth and the legacy and the tax-free potential income to the surviving spouse when they need it the most and still be able to stay in a lower tax bracket? So we're not looking at just, okay, the tax bill now. We're looking at if you and your spouse live for 20 to 30 years, what does the taxes look like? We're looking at what if one of you happen to pass away early and now the surviving spouse pays more in taxes, their income goes down because their tax thresholds go up and their standard deduction goes to half. What does that look like? And then we look at the legacy. How much more of a legacy do your beneficiaries have just because you moved your IRA over to Roth? And that's the anomaly. That's the full picture I never understood in the beginning until I started doing it the right way for our clients. I went, wow, there's 3 departments to this IRA conversion to a Roth. It's you here and now, it's the surviving spouse, and it's the kids. And it keeps growing and doubling and compounding. It's a beautiful thing. If you do nothing, your legacy will be smaller if you do nothing. And I will prove it to you. If you do something, I don't care if it's only $5,000 a year you're rolling to the IRA to Roth, your legacy will be bigger. If nothing changes, your spending habits are the same. Taxes will say they never change. They're right where they are today. And so if taxes go up, my strategy is even better. If taxes go down, well, guess what? We should have never done it, right? But I don't think taxes are going down.
You're listening to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. And this is one of the problems with the 401k. I mean, when pensions kind of went away and they said, well, here's the replacement. And we went, okay, and how is this better? And we said, whoa, you get to choose your own investments. You get to be master of your finances. And we all thought, oh, that's cool.
Yay.
Yeah, great. And now we get here and go, we didn't tell you about the tax problem. And so there is that. And so what happens with that? And when we talk about that, some people say the 401k is outdated. It's outlived its usefulness. And one of those people actually is Charles Payne. You see him on Fox Business. And there was just recently a conversation with him, and they asked him straight out, do you think that the 401k is dead?
I don't know that it's dead. I will say, though, that the 401k hasn't lived up to the hype. And I think that's one of the problems, right? And every year they come out and they'll say we have this many 401k millionaires, right? And it sounds like a huge number. Cool. Then you say, well, how many people have a 401k? And it's like 0.03% of everyone with one. So the promise was that if you just put this money in, it was going to end up being worth a lot of money. And I don't know that it's dead, but I think people have to approach it differently. And I think they're starting to, particularly like the 60-40 portfolio. I think that's a huge mistake on the 40 side. You know, 40% in bonds, I think, is just a massive mistake at this point.
All right. So, Sharice, I think one of the big problems is people refer to a 401k as a 401k plan. And there is no plan in the 401k. There is nothing there for income. There is very little there for tax planning. There's there for growth. That's what it's for, is to move your money forward. And there's choice problems. There's fee problems. There are a lot of problems with the 401k. Do you see it completely going away? Do you see it being revamped? Do you see big changes that you would see are needed for the future? What do you think on this?
I don't think the 401k is ever going to go away. I think they're going to have as offshoots. I mean, that's how the 401k started, right? We're already seeing that even in a 401k, a lot of companies can offer annuities, AKA the pension.
And there's income right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's income there. So when the 401k was built out in the 1978, to be exact, these companies didn't want to deal with the pensions. They didn't want to be the pension managers. They didn't want to be liable for your income. So they're like, I'm passing this torch. I don't want this liability 30 years from now. So now we're not going to get pensions. We're going to have these defined contribution plans where you guys can contribute. We'll match it. It'll grow tax free. You get a little write-off along the way, right? And now when you retire, you get to be your own pension manager. Hence why so many people spend less money, because they don't know how to be their own pension manager, because they're afraid they're going to run out of money. And therefore, the first 10 years or go-go years when they're the healthiest, they don't spend enough money. And by the time they're 75, they're like, wow, I got all this money. We should spend it. Oh, well, I can't walk right now. Oh, I got to go, my this or that. There's always something, because health changes. So I do think that it's important to really consider, okay, I have a 401k. Do I move it to an IRA? Do I actually create a real plan? Because the 401k is not a plan. And do we really spread out these apples among a bunch of bags instead of having it all in one bag, right? And that's what we want people to think about when it comes to planning and how to manage money. It's not all sizes are going to fit the same. Not all eggs should be in one basket. You guys have heard all the terminology when it comes to that. And let's figure out what your basket needs to look like, because there's probably 20 different baskets we can offer here in our office, and which one are you going to fit in? I think is going to be the best strategy.
Well, the 401k got you here. I don't think the 401k is going to get you all the way through retirement if that's just what you have. That really is not a retirement plan. It's not a financial plan. It is an element within your financial plan to use. How do we use it and make it have purpose? Let's sit down and talk about that. How does that 401k that's got $1 million in it, how does it pay you in retirement? What does it pay you in? How does it pay you in retirement? Let's figure that out together. Here's the number and here's the website. It is 833-368-3680. 833-368-3680 or online, ZinniaWealth.com, ZINNIA Wealth.com. There's a gold box on the website there. It says complimentary retirement consultation. That's exactly what it is. It's a no cost, no obligation meeting about your retirement. Let's sit down and really start talking about this and get something down on paper. Again, 833-368-3680. All right, according to one study here, 82% of Americans have paid vacation, yet 25% of them don't take a single day off. And I'm looking at some of you, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. You type A people, you can't even tear yourself away from work. And then there's some of you who go, whoa, who is crazy like that? Who wouldn't use their vacation? I know people in each particular group. Now, I want to talk about you, Sharice, you type A, because you never stop, okay? You love what you do and charge through life and through business. And I fear for people who are type A people, because they're going to go and go and go and go until something happens, because they didn't plan for something to happen. They think, I'm just going to work until I don't want to work anymore. And then disaster happens. The financial cliff, the job cliff happens, and they get fired. They get downsized, or something happens to their health and they can't work anymore. And there's this abrupt stop. And they're not prepared for it. It's like they're driving along in a car, getting an accident, and you fly forward toward the windshield. And I think some people have that problem as they get into retirement. Sharice, have you dealt with that people are financially fine, but emotionally they are not? And how do they adjust to this life that we're talking about?
Yeah, I'll tell you this much. I've learned so many times over and over again that retiring people is very emotional. It's psychological. People will work longer because they're just unsure when's the right time to turn in the keys to retirement and walk out those double doors with our last paycheck. Therefore, they work longer when they could be retiring. So after I learned that is when I really started saying, maybe we just need to really build this hardcore plan for people to give them that surety that, hey, when you turn in these keys, this is what it looks like on a pessimistic viewpoint, with inflation increasing, with what if I go into long-term care? What if my spouse dies earlier? And just really building out a plan that they can see. And I think that's all people want. And when that happens, the emotions become emotionless almost to retiring. Like, okay, we got this. The psychology of it all slows down. And those people, 3 to 6 months after they finally retired, when we get them retired early, all their honey-do list stuff is over. And they're like, okay, now what? And they feel like they got to go do something. But I feel like 70% of those people get used to it and like, oh, I'm really enjoying this retirement thing. And then the other 30% feel like, I really want to do something. I want to go work part-time and help a small firm. I want to go volunteer. So you got that tick that keeps going. But that's okay because you're doing something you love outside your normal life that you lived for 30 or 40 years. I mean, think about it, Randy. It's just like me. I love what I do, but I do little things on the outside of my world that keep me passionate about this world because you need to have that extra space in life to do those things that you love, whether it's helping people, whether it's a small company or whatever it could be. Maybe it's just helping in your kid's school that gets you away from your normal life. And so that's the same thing in retirement. You're getting away from your normal life, but you're about to create this new life. So it's a little bit different and you're going to get used to it. And you are going to be able to dictate what you want to do, what time you want to wake up, who you're going to go see, what vacation you're going to finally not have to worry about, right? And so that's the exciting part. So I think it's hard for people to visualize, Randy, because we're used to a paycheck and it's always about the paycheck. Income makes the world go around. And when you stop getting a paycheck, that's where people get really nervous. Like, where is that paycheck coming from? But if you know ahead of time, oh, you got that paycheck? How's that paycheck coming? How many times are you going to get? How much am I going to get it? Oh, what buckets are those paychecks coming? And when's the higher paycheck come? People just want to know, where are my checks coming from? I want to make sure they're showing up each and every time you promised they would show up and they don't stop. Therefore, they can really enjoy retirement.
Well, I got to tell you, I am living the round to it list and the honey-do list right now because Julie retired a month ago. And so far, we've had the house painted, the decks painted, the kitchen cabinets are painted. We've got new gutters. We got a new patio door, and that's in 30 days. So,
that's awesome.
She's going to it, let me tell you.
She's a machine.
She is, and I'm enjoying it, too, because here's the thing, is that we aren't big travelers. That's just not something that we've done our whole life. She's not really interested in doing that. She likes redoing the house and she likes doing that stuff. So that's what we're going to do. A lot of that, you know, and she's just enjoying the heck out of it. So far, so good. 30 days in.
Yeah. When all the honey-do list stuff is over and the house is just right, she'll be like, all right, how many cruises can we book?
Yeah,
let's go down and see Charisse.
Yeah. See, I'm still working and she's so like this morning I got up at 5:30 and she's still snoring away in bed. And I go, that's different. I wonder how long is it going to be before she looks at me and goes, I want you retired right now. And I was like, oh boy, I got to check that with Charisse.
I know. I'll tell you what happens with my clients. It's like this, I notice like, oh, I'm not going to retire for 5 years. A spouse retires. It's usually that 2.5 year mark.
Yep.
Truly like clockwork, or it's like, okay, I'm retiring. I got to retire now. Okay, I can't retire. Okay, good. So the senioritis kicks in.
We would love for you to sit down and have those kind of conversations. Wouldn't that be wonderful if you could sit down and say, okay, we can retire on this date, or it's a lot quicker than what we thought. And the money is there, and all that hard work that you've been doing all these years is going to finally pay off. But we just don't know what the math is yet. And because this is not an area that you've lived in. You've done something else your whole life. And you've been paid every 2 weeks your whole life. And now you're getting into a place where you're just uncertain about how the finances are going to work. Let's get it down on paper. We call it doing the math on your retirement. Give Sharice and the team a call. Let's sit down and have a meeting. It's a no-cost, no-obligation meeting. Here's what you've saved, 401ks and IRAs and savings accounts and rentals and all that stuff, pensions, whatever it is. How is that going to power your retirement to do the stuff you want to do? Let's get that down on paper. We'll do that for you at no charge. 833-368-3680 is the number. 833-368-3680 or online. It is zinniawealth.com, ZINNIA wealth.com. There's a gold box that says complimentary retirement consultation. Click on that. Our team will reach out to you and you'll be on your way. Sharice, that is all the time that we have on this one. I will give you the last word.
If you want to spend more in retirement, pay less potentially in taxes, and be more diversified, you're going to want to hear this show. So as usual, live by design and not by default, and we'll see you here next week.
This has been Retirement Coffee Talk. To find out more about how the strategies we've discussed on this program can build the retirement you've been wanting, call Zinnia Wealth at 352-368-3680 or visit us online at zinniawealth.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, a registered investment advisor. The firm only conducts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded from registration requirements. Registration is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. Insurance products are offered through Zinnia Wealth Management, LLC, Florida license L078655, and Sharice Rivers, Florida license P037744. Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, and Zinnia Wealth Management, LLC are affiliated entities. The information presented is believed to be current. It should not be viewed as personalized investment advice. All expressions of opinion reflect the judgment of the presenter on the date of the podcast and are subject to change. The information presented is not an offer to buy or sell or a solicitation of any offer to buy or sell any of the securities discussed. You should consult with a professional advisor before implementing any of the strategies discussed. Any legal or tax information provided in this podcast is general in nature. Always consult an attorney or tax professional regarding your specific legal or tax situation. Any client experience discussed on this show are unique to that client. Annuity and life insurance guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. If you withdraw money from or surrender your contract within a certain time after investing, the insurance company may assess a surrender charge. Withdrawals may be subject to tax penalties and income taxes. Persons selling annuities or other insurance products receive compensation for these transactions. These commissions are separate and distinct from fees charged for advisory services. Insurance products also contain additional fees and expenses. Social Security rules and regulations are subject to change at any time. Always consult with your local Social Security office before acting upon any information provided herein. References to specific investments should not be construed as being past specific recommendations. The returns for various indices discussed in this podcast do not represent the performance of the firm or any of its advisory clients. Returns do not reflect the impact that advisory fees will have on an investment. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. All investment strategies have potential for profit or loss. Different types of investments involve higher and lower levels of risk. There is no guarantee that a specific investment strategy will be suitable or profitable for an investor's portfolio. Historical performance returns for investment indexes and or categories usually do not deduct transaction and or custodial charges or advisory fees, which would decrease historical performance results. There are no guarantees that a portfolio will match or outperform a specific benchmark. Investments in fixed income products are subject to liquidity risk, market risk, index rate risk, credit risk, inflation risk, purchasing power risk, and taxation risk. Because bond prices fluctuate continually, their yields change constantly.